So how do you motivate your elementary students to read? Well, for starters, let's talk about what not to do in terms of motivation. First of all, motivation can be extrinsic or intrinsic. And we don't want to be extrinsically motivating our students to read because once they've hit the prize or the goal or the party, then that motivation fades and they don't really have much of a reason to read anymore. So if you're having reading competitions or grading your students to read, or maybe having school-wide reading competitions to get a celebrity to come into the school and talk to the kids, I mean, those have their place, but they really don't get to the heart of why students will choose to read, because once they're not given a prize or given something at the end, then what's there to really push them? So we're going to talk a little bit about the intrinsic stuff that you can do to help your students choose to read, or at least engage in reading and find a reason. My name is Avia Kelly, and this is my YouTube channel, Literacy in Elementary Schools, improving how students read, write, and communicate. So I made a couple notes on a few things, and one of the most important things for me when I taught, I found that my students really responded well to having a purpose for reading. And for example, that purpose could be they're going to report to a buddy what they've read. And sometimes I would even vary this and have them read different things so that, they will have to feel that responsibility of telling that other person what they read because that other person didn't read the same thing they read. So that's one way of doing it, but you could even do it, have them read the same thing, but giving them a purpose to share or to present to a small group, or maybe even to write a poem or a song, whatever you come up with, give them a reason and let them share it, because then you own it a little bit better when you have to share that information other than just keep it all inside. Another thing you could do is, have students generate questions about what they're going to read. I mean, you've done KWL charts, right? And this helps the kids to think about what they know, what they would like to know, and also what they learned. And again, they need to share what they learned that was different from what they already went into the reading knowing. And so that presentation aspect or sharing aspect is a big deal. Another thing that was important is helping your students figure out ways to connect the text to their own lives. Yes, you call it text to self, text to world, text to text, but also text to self is more than just finding something in the text that relates to yourself, but it could be another person, or it could be a family down the street from them. The idea is, when they're going to read, you might want to say to them, look for ways that this text reminds you of something or relates to something that you've done or feelings. And you can even have them generate some of the questions based on the topic, based on maybe the captions that they've read before in their pre-reading activities. But these are pre-reading activities mostly to help them get motivated. And then you can teach them to do these things when they're reading on their own. You don't always have to be the one initiating the questions or helping them think about what they're going to be learning about. Help them to do this for themselves. You can teach them to ask these questions. And so those are just some of the things that I wrote down that you could try in your classrooms to help students become motivated internally, so they don't have to have a carrot being dangled at the end so that they will get a prize. But they can build their own interest and, develop their own curiosity, even when the text is something they don't know anything about, or maybe something that might have otherwise seemed boring. But once they've generated questions and had a purpose to read, then they can find even things that they thought was boring, that they thought was a boring topic, to be very interesting, and they can become motivated to read.